To the Talk Shop in Studio 255, we are live with Micah Richardson, Vice Mayor for the City of Laramie City Council. And this program in segment brought to you by Chano's Village. Chano's Village for lunch today. H&R Block, reminding you it's tax season. And Pole Mountain Pharmacy, dedicated to the health and wellness of Southeast Wyoming from their location at 4th and Harney. And we appreciate you joining us, Micah. Thank you for being on the Talk Shop.
Thanks
Welcome.
for having me. I appreciate it.
It's good to have you back. We last saw you in 2022, the campaign awareness tour, candidate awareness tour. You were running for city council. Tell us about your first term.
It's funny. It's a whirlwind. It's gone by so quickly, and at the same time, sometimes feels like, wow, this has only been 2 years, kind of thing. So, but I have appreciated it. I have learned a huge amount. There has been so much that has happened, which we'll talk about today. But I think a lot of learning. A lot of committee meetings, which was unexpected, or to the point that we have them. But even those, you take away so much from those committee meetings and those other groups that you end up being able to speak with. And so I feel lucky that I am able to run, and hope that I can just continue to learn and do what's best for Laramie. So,
for those that might not know in the audience, what ward and what area of town do you represent?
I am Ward 1.
Okay.
So,
and that area roughly is?
It's the long, skinny, kind of
southern edge, right?
The southern edge, and it kind of runs from West Laramie clear to, not clear up north, because that begins Ward 3. It's a odd-shaped ward. So
all of them are.
Yes.
All of them are unique,
Yep.
special, one of a kind, and like every citizen, there are individual concerns that approach everyone's mind and follow the soul of our community and comprise that. What initiatives have you found the most challenging in your first 2 years on council?
Housing, and I knew it would be. I think we all knew it would be. If it was easy, we'd have a lot of solutions. The rest of the nation would have a lot of solutions. So that one's tough. And we continue to work toward how do we get more housing, more access. So that's one that's been a tough one, I think. And then I would say that is probably the toughest one. There are other ones that are challenging in terms of individual items that there was a split in community and how they felt. Those are always challenging, and you have to kind of sit in it and hope you're doing the right thing and try to think about again what you think is best for, and what you're hearing from people for what's best for Laramie. But broadly, housing is it. It's a doozy.
What do you see as the bright light of the horizon? Perhaps what sunrise can we look forward to with respect to housing initiatives and that identified area of concern being responded to in a best fashion possible?
Yeah, I think there are definitely some bright lights, and there are struggles, and there are things we can improve, all of that good stuff. But when we're thinking about the positives, I think about some spaces where the city can kind of take the lead and create some housing that can work as an example of how you can utilize what we have and utilize the land that we have to build up. So that 4th Street development that is happening, taking down those city buildings by Stink Pond and building some development there, doing it in a way that it can be you listen to community, you think about how you can get the most density there with staying within the community or the character of the community, utilizing the tools that we have. We have the Urban Renewal Authority who now can implement the TIF for that. And so
what's a TIF?
The tax increment financing.
Cool. Thanks.
And at the
You're in a no acronym.
Yeah,
zone.
sorry. Oh, thank you. How did I so quickly move over to the dark side with the acronyms? So, in a quick description of how this works, and this is real simple, so bear with me here. But basically, you have an area that you are going to build on. The taxes are capped at that level for the years that you will then be building, and they can, so that whatever would typically go back is captured, and then can put toward that building. So, and it can only be done for 20 years.
It's dedicated to that building.
Yes, dedicated to that building.
Right.
Yeah, you can't use it for anything else.
So not in some general pool for all
Correct.
county
Correct.
or whatever.
Correct. So
application.
the idea, it's a way to help finance housing or improvements to a community.
Right, and it can accelerate that development in that
Yep.
fashion.
Yep,
Okay.
and it can be tough
Because
if
of the
you
concentrated, it's specifically designated.
Yes.
So perfect.
Yeah, and it can be tough if it's a small area, because our taxes are so low that it doesn't necessarily have enough impact. But if you can look at something like that space, right, that's larger, then it can have some impact. And I am not an expert, but that's broadly how I would explain it.
You bring up a great point. I don't think any of us can necessarily be called experts per se. Even Councilman Shumway, who might have the longest tenure on the city council, probably would have no problem admitting deficiency in this area or that area. But that experience that you're gaining becomes all the more valuable, or maybe depends on your willingness to consider things that maybe you've considered previously, and hopefully you don't have a predetermined decision on this, even though you've spent hours and hours on it. You can have enlightenment from a public comment. You can have enlightenment from a new fact, a new development. And that openness, that open mind is really the powerful experience that is treasured in public office, is it not? I mean, that's it. As a newer council member, isn't that what you look to experienced council members for and guidance from?
Oh, I think having Joe on the council he just has so much of that historical knowledge. He can kind of fill in, so often, I think, or often, I shouldn't say so often, but often, like, you come in with something and it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know, right? So you come in, you know this information, and then Joe or someone else will say, 10 years ago, the reason we got here is 10 years ago, XYZ happened. Yeah. And so it's like,
historical knowledge is powerful.
It is.
And yet, one of the qualities that Councilman Shumway portrays each and every public appearance is a calm. Mm-hmm. And there's always comfort and caution that I watch mindfully,
and often a good story to go along with it.
And there's always with the best of those with his kind of rapport in the community. You have that occasion, and this might be a good time to acknowledge when the Talk Shop was created. When I did so 7 or 8 years ago, I did so with the intent that this is a public affairs, public-minded, community-driven program. And that is intentionally working to educate, inform, and grow awareness, but expand communication beyond the time limits many may feel in one environment versus another. This is an opportunity to go beyond that. And the caller bringing a call in, hold if you will, the opportunity for you to weigh in just ahead here on the Talk Shop. We'll get to your question, perhaps your call here in a moment. But we are with Micah Richardson on the Talk Shop. She's vice mayor for the City of Laramie City Council. We're kind of doing a review of the 2023-2024 annual representation cycle, and what other keys beyond housing are you interested in as I take this question from this call?
Yeah, well, and as you talked about 23, 24, some of the things a couple of things I thought I should, or that I wanted to point out are, I think, lesser known items that we have. And one of them is our water rights that we were able to get from Union Pacific. So we were able to purchase land and water rights from the Union Pacific, which I think is just huge, especially when you think of surrounding states and the battle over water and what that's looking like. I don't think many people know that happened, that our city manager and our city attorney negotiated that, and that's a really, I just am so proud of that one, and knowing that that's not just, that's years from now, right? That can be beneficial to us. And also tied into that are ranches. I don't know if there's another city in the state that owns ranches, and thinking about how do we utilize that for income, and how do we utilize it for something, for example, like energy with a solar farm, that sort of thing.
The city of Laramie, I don't know any other way to say it, but with the acquisition of ranching properties, historic ranching properties in the community. Prior guests have said we have water rights that will take care of our community to growth into 250 years from now, and at the pacing and so forth that we're currently utilizing. That means that there's a wealth of opportunity for our community that perhaps might help revenue shortfalls in how we utilize that. And as I saw a presentation in 2024 from a very confident, candid presenter in the ranch manager hired by the city of Laramie to facilitate. It's important for listeners or the audience to know that when it comes to protecting, acquiring, and preserving and protecting the water right interests, you have to utilize those constructively and fully as they were traditionally. That's how you uphold your property right, is to utilize it in the water right world. And I can only say from my personal observation, but when I saw that presentation by, I apologize for not knowing his name, but
Jay. Yeah.
What's his name?
Jay, and I'm suddenly all I can
yeah.
think
So
of is
Jay, my every confidence in your presentation. I only had that one introduction to you, but the confidence and fluid, off top of mind, no notes, the way that you passionately directed the entire city council attendance and that particular meeting, it was powerful, and it gave a lot of reason for me to trust that you're diligent and you're looking out for the interest, and therefore thank the city of Laramie with respect to that area of administration.
He's passionate. I would add that to it too.
The dedication came out, and mathematics don't lie, right? You know, when the math works out that a dollar investment is 10x. That's what's happening with the ranch area. I don't know of a stone or a straw or a bale of hay not turned towards the positive direction for the city. Now, there's probably other suggestions that might be taken at any one time. Public, you're always welcome to comment. Send council messages. Send them your feedback. As we have you and the pleasure of your company here, Micah, would you share what's the most valuable way for you to receive, or any council member to receive, public comment, be it in chambers, at the podium, or by email? What's the most valuable to you as a council member? What are qualities that what's the presentation that's most appreciated by the council as a whole, perhaps? Definitely you as an
Yeah,
individual.
I don't think I can answer for the council as a whole, but I would say for me, I appreciate hearing the public comment when you come to council. And if there is something that really sticks out, if it, one, some people who come and comment, we have their information, we can follow up with them. Other people, though, will come, and I don't have an email for them, but they often will follow up with an email of what they have shared. That's really helpful. It's helpful for me because you hear it, but then for me personally, an email is appreciated. It takes longer for me to read and respond to, but having it all laid out in, written word is helpful for me to kind of think it through. Meeting with people one-on-one, I am happy to meet with people if they have an idea that they want to sit down and talk about.
How many constituents do you have in Ward 1?
I don't actually know that answer. I would
So-
guess, let me
so
think
if you
about
take
this,
1/3, there are three-
30,000, right?
if you
Yeah,
take
divided by
1/3
three,
of
about
the
10,000,
deal,
I
yeah,
would
about
say.
10,000,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that wasn't a gotcha question.
No,
I wasn't
no, it's fine.
looking to
Took me a second
to do
go
that. But
3 divided by.
but just
or 30
fundamentally,
divided by
from
3.
important conversation, it's important, I think, for the community to know how you can be most effective making your public comment. If many will get up and have mic fright, the silence at the
I
mic
get it.
is deafening, and many will sit in the chair as public comment is called for, when it is called for, and freeze, lock up, fight, fright, flight, what is it? Fight, flight, or freeze,
Yep.
right? And I think that overwhelms people at times. And then there's the forum and the atmosphere itself. And not only do you have that perhaps just one-on-one, but you have who knows however many. You have 30 chairs behind you at the podium for others to think about
What you've
the
said.
room and
Yeah.
what you're saying and judge or prejudge or react or catcall you or whatever. I mean, a little bit of everything happens, perhaps through the minds of people as they look to make and get involved actively. But I do appreciate when public comment is taken and the opportunity is made for the public to genuinely interact. And there are rules that you need to abide by in order to keep the order of the meeting. And you have a time designation for each meeting. And roughly speaking, that goes 6:30 to 9:30, a 3-hour meeting each Tuesday. I don't think work sessions are any different. Is that a different rule?
Yep, work sessions are different in that they start at 6.
Oh, 6. Okay.
Yep, we start those at 6, and it isn't structured the same way because really, and I really encourage people to attend or listen or go back to those work sessions. That is where a lot of the discussion for items that we've heard from constituents about, or that maybe we have an upcoming item on the agenda, it might be months down the road, but that we need more information in order to make a informed decision. Those meetings to me are the most interesting. They're where you get to ask more questions as council, where you get to hear more information. There's more back and forth. There's more discussion. I mistook the rules being identical because I was called out of order in a work session where I asked a follow-up question immediately upon a speaker at the podium making their answer in reply, but not answering my question as directly as I had hoped with respect to housing, as a matter of fact, in the community. But nevertheless, I asked the question to be as respectful as possible of process. And there's rules that are on the face of the agenda for the meetings. I just want to interrupt you for a minute because you said, is it the same? No, because it starts at 6. Are rules still in place? Yes.
Right.
So the rules.
But
and
you talk
towards
about
of-
interactivity, and you talked about the give and take, but
yeah.
it's only between council and the podium speaker. It's not.
Correct.
It's not the room.
Correct.
And that's not necessarily known, nor is it written on the face of an agenda itself. So if you haven't delved deeper into Robert's Rule of Order, or whether that's followed tightly or loosely, irrespective, you're in an atmosphere where you want to recognize that how are you best going to be heard?
Yeah.
Are you gonna be heard respectfully or disrespectfully? Or are you gonna disrespectively better? And it's unquestionable that you want to be as positive as possible.
Yeah. So let's go back to that. So you bring up a point about the agenda. So maybe that's a space where it's like, okay, on our work session agendas, maybe that's an opportunity to reevaluate that and have that information at the top, right? These are all things that, as a council, I think we can look to do to make it more to allow people to understand the process a little bit better. And when talking about what's the best way, so you're right, this discussion is within council, it's within a presenter, then the audience can come up and give their feedback in that 3 minutes time. But then that's where I would encourage that you do that interaction with the council member. And I know I can't ask that of everyone, right? People are busy, they have busy schedules, but I welcome if you listen to a work session meeting and you have an idea to bring it forward. Now, will I agree with that always? No, but oftentimes, right? But there are also times, and I certainly try to do this. I don't always nail it. I am not perfect. I guarantee you that. But even if there is communication where I don't agree with parts of it, trying to find what are the snippets that I do agree with in somebody's conversation. So I would really encourage people in the public to set up one-on-one meetings with any of the counselors. I think every one of us would be happy to talk. Email. I am less good about phone calls because either I'm typically at work, or if I'm home with my family, I try to answer, but I don't. And I'll be honest about that. I will text, I will meet you, I will kind of set that time aside. But I'm less good about phone calls. I want to be honest about that.
Yeah.
But I think that's, hoping that we can engage in that process is in a way, and I appreciate that you're asking what can people do, because I think that's great. I also think, I know we've talked about how can the city be better at communicating? And I think we're making some really good strides. I think we're doing more on social media. We've just started this. I gotta remember what it's called. I have it in one of my notes because it's
just in this
thing.
week's session, which was a regular meeting. There was a department head that spoke about what measures were being taken to go beyond Laramie. Well, it was specifically actually benefiting Laramie Live, ergo social media outlets, which the Talk Shop would certainly be one. So I didn't take offense, having been an originator of Laramie Live in the community. I'm pleased at the development of that resource, and I look to do similarly with the Talk Shop. I believe legal notices are things that could be shared that way. Equally so, with respect to utilization of electronic communication, I think that it's unquestionably absent the opportunity to give an automated response of receipt of messaging to council. If you or the clerk receive, Nancy, this is, I love what you do, and you juggle on it online and quorum. You're the parliamentarian of city council, and I don't know that that's your job title, but you're doing it and you're getting it done, and you do it wonderfully. But you have an opportunity to communicate the first level of trust in accepting the input, and that is to essentially, in this day and age, time, date, stamp the receipt of this communication. I would say in October 2021, of 9 city council members, I had 2 responses of 9. None in acknowledgement of receipt by the clerk or council as a generalized address. The address for emailing your city council is council@cityoflaramie.org. That sends the message to all, presumably,
Correct.
in the address queue for that city council. I also think that it's valuable in this day and age to identify exactly who people are, council by council, item by item, and if we're going to print documentation, we're going to enhance what we do online. I know that if you dig deep enough, if you dig in the right spot, if you scratch the right surface, you will come across exactly the address for each one of you. It comes in council member form, but it's as you communicate with council as a generalized address. I think that it's really critical that you trust the system to say an automated response. To say that it's not possible to respond to all, it's not true today. It's absolutely true that you can send an autoresponder that time date stamps exactly when this was received, and by nature of an automated response back, every citizen who writes a public comment in receives that time date stamp of when that was received. Not only do they have the sent information on their own queue, but they also have the confirmation, the affirmation that there wasn't a glitch. There was an actual receipt by the server of the city of Laramie.
Yeah.
And I think that's as we entered 2025, what we've segued to is, what are the goals of City Council today in 2025? A new group of 9 as a body of whole, with four of 9 City Council members. Is it 4 or 5?
5.
5.
Well, which I don't know which way are you going? 4 new, 5
four,
old?
4 new, 5
Yeah.
5 returning, but 1.
Yeah.
We have 9 City Council members, and they're all powerfully busy. All of you are active. You sit on collectively 50 committees or better in the community. I don't know if committee work is paid. I believe it's not. And when it comes to the time value of your investment with the community, $150 per meeting, I bet it comes to less than 50 cents an hour in terms of your time total investment. But that aside, I do believe that there are areas where if we allow, instead of relying so heavily on staff contributions, but we were to say, not only is city council members going to be paid or compensated for $150 per meeting, but we were to expand the definition of a meeting, and we were to allow that. Why not do a fifth Tuesday where 9 or quorum could be at a fifth Tuesday, and y'all could be paid for that? I don't have a problem of your paid availability to me as a citizen or to the community as a whole when the interests are being served so valuably in building trust in
So
Laramie.
let me answer your question
Yeah,
real quick.
go ahead.
So I think that's where we're headed. So when we discussed last time about coming together, we had a discussion about Fifth Tuesdays, and I think all of us just want to make sure it's something that's worthwhile. So we had a discussion about what that can look like, and I think that's where we're landing, is that there will be a Fifth Tuesday. That Fifth Tuesday, instead of being in the past, the 3 from Ward 3 were there, 3 from Ward 2 were in a separate location, and 3 from Ward 1 were in another location.
Oh, okay.
This
Did the current group like that, or did they come up with a different system?
Only a couple from the current group are
Part of that.
Part of that now. But the discussion was, it was hit and miss as to whether it was very effective, right?
Yeah,
because
sure.
I remember the 15th
Obviously, they went away for some reason,
Yes.
right?
So
not to forget that.
Yeah, Ward 1, where I was, we had a pretty good showing. We had pretty good discussion. I felt like it was beneficial. But I believe it was Ward 2 that they had either no one show up or one person for like 30 minutes, and then you have to wait there. So the discussion was, do we not want to have don't get me wrong, a fifth Tuesday off every now and again is nice, but that
Well,
doesn't matter,
and
right?
what's the core reason and rationale
Yeah.
for a fifth Tuesday? It's availability to the community.
Exactly. And so when thinking about this more, I mean, oh shoot, that might be me. Give me just a second.
Yeah,
Sorry.
get it. I want to give as you're taking that call, I want to give credit to the last city council regular meeting session at 406 Ivinson Avenue. In that session, there was comment made by Councilman Bowling, and I wanted to give Bowling specific credit for this statement that he made, and generally paraphrased, he made a statement which valued alley mural development, and the topic was during Assistant Manager Feaser's presentation on open container permitting and allowance of areas and borders and so forth, and it was deemed that currently the practice has been not to permit alleyway trafficking from 11 a.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. Daily with respect to downtown areas and so forth. But what I wanted to give credit to was the 1 of 9 perspective that was given by Councilman Bowling specific to culture and mural artistic development and value in Laramie, Wyoming. And focus given to one of Laramie's most recent downtown murals in alleyways goes behind the Knothole business on their business north-facing wall of their business alley side, shared by the Spectacle Emporium at 305 2nd Street, 305 North or South? South 2nd.
Yeah.
In any event, it's really impressive to me that diversity existed on the council, and I wanted to commend the group as a whole for take that moment in conversation was one. I appreciated you bringing that up, Councilman Bowling, because I valued it. And knowing the work of Jody Herrera, I had the opportunity to interview her and follow her development of the mural that is in that specific area and dedicated to the old and the new, with featured citizen Dr. Cecilia Aragon as a central focal piece to that mural. Thank you, Councilman Bowling. That's the type of quality awareness and conveyance that I appreciate from the group as a whole. And not that all the questions and answers aren't equally valuable, but that one stood out.
Yeah.
And that happened this March 18th meeting.
Yeah. I'll go back. So I agree, and we've got some great new voices on this council that I very much appreciate. I want to go back to your question about the Fifth Tuesday. So kind of where we landed then, recognizing that we just need to make these better. And so what I think we will be doing is the full group meeting as 9 of us, and I'm watching you go, so sorry if anybody's wondering where I'm looking. No, I'm good. Thank you. I still have some left. But the full group meeting as 9, but we will rotate 2 different districts. So the opportunity to meet at council chambers, as it was pointed out by our tech team. That way we can have kind of it shared with the world.
Those are unsung heroes, by the way.
They are so good.
The group in that section of the council operation. Kudos to you.
Yeah.
I don't know your
They're
name
good.
Also, but I would tell you, I say hi to you coming and going
so good.
because I appreciate what
Yeah.
It's not easy to navigate council members who don't turn their mic on. It's not easy to navigate council members who do not speak into the microphone. And I value hearing each and every one of their
Yes.
comments and input.
Yeah.
And Nancy, this is to me, this is the unsung hero credit that goes to the team as a whole. So not only the infotech design and structure and the technology, but I mean, we got 9 TVs in that space. There's has to be a 9th downstairs in the overflow room. How many of you have been to city council? My challenge: do so. don't go without being a member of the community and not attending these meetings. Know where your county commissioners meet. Know where your city council meets, and be there as often as possible, because engagement really matters to the city council, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And if you don't know where to go, reach out to me. I will guide you down
Just
there.
ask a city council
you know
member.
what?
They'll tell you where
we'll
to go.
tell you where to go. That's right. No, so yeah, I would love to have more people there. It's if we get a full room when there's something that's more controversial, but I love having people there all the time, and to just that awareness. I know people can't make it. I know some people work at 5. I hope a Zoom meeting, or again, this is back to like, if you have
You got
questions, meet up.
families, you got kids, you got children.
Meet up.
We don't see nearly enough children at city council meeting chambers.
I can't drag my own there, so
No, I appreciate you.
yeah.
I appreciate you on all candor. I appreciate you speaking to how do we make things better, right? How do we collectively do that? And one of the other possibilities, opportunities for consideration, educate the community. When somebody's out of order, instruct them on how they could. Obviously, they had a comment. If you're valuing comment, now, knowing that you were out of order, let's get in order, and let's educate on how we can proceed forward. Obviously, you have a comment. In the future, would you please raise your hand following, and we'll do our best to acknowledge you. You get your 3 minutes, you don't get more, whatever the case may be, but bring people along. Not only the people in chambers will gain by that, but also the viewers online can gain from that. And subsequently, any viewer on future occasion that they're checking out the recorded live stream interaction, they can learn as well. And this is Laramie, after all, an educational community like no other, in having the sole four-year institution state land grant of the University of Wyoming. That's an opportunity, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Other goals for 2025.
So
and
there
I will
are
keep quiet.
Okay. So a couple of things that I want to talk about. We'll continue to work on housing. That 4th Street development we will continue with. We had applied for a grant, did not receive that grant, but we'll reapply for that. Our environmental quality study was not ready in time for the grant to
So it was a
be
missing
submitted.
component.
Yep, just the
Okay.
timing on it didn't work. So we'll reapply and hopefully get that moving forward. I would love to see continued efforts on that Slade property and seeing about how we might do some housing there, working with the school district, working with other partners in the community, working with that neighborhood to make sure, thinking about, we're talking with them, how can this be created in a way that's really supportive? And this would be potentially, none of this is concrete yet, but to support workforce housing. So
Is there
to
a
support the
reason?
district,
Is there a
support-
reason that there seems to be a void in what can the community do with dormant school facilities? What can they do with closed Vital Elementary? What can they do with, because many of us here comment that why don't we house the those without housing?
Yep.
Why don't we house the homeless in this? Why don't we immediately open it and request proposals for how would you use Vital Elementary if you were in charge? How would you do it? An idea and brainstorm or support commercial ventures that might support non-governmental operation of a facility like this, and maybe perhaps sell that property from public to private so that it's a tax generating property as well. All of these things are possible.
Those are all up to the school district, right? So the only
Or the
way,
state. Actually,
the state is
the
what
state owns these properties.
Yep.
And yet, as city council members, I see you as primary facilitators, as primary engagers with respect to you're elected. You can't take the charge when you like to, as much as you have to just realize that sometimes you need to be advocates for us as citizens as a whole.
And I think
and
what-
you probably are, but we don't necessarily
Sure.
know it. So I'm loving the transparency initiative that you have in 2025. What beyond housing, transparency, instilling a greater trust in government? What else is specifically on the horizon for council?
Well, I think we have got a really great opportunity for more connection within Laramie. So we applied for and received I believe it's called the Connecting Communities Grant. I might be making that name up. It's something along
Is that federal or state?
It is federal.
Uh-huh.
And so the first piece, the grant is to study what are the opportunities available to connect West Laramie, the west side, the east side of Laramie, in a way that is more conducive to people getting here, there, everywhere. That can be looking at our roads, that can be looking at trail systems. It will be a wide, it can be transit as well.
In the absence of like Clark Street Viaduct and those
Yeah,
kind of
well,
things.
it's just kind of more broadly. How can we think about making it more accessible for people to get from one side of
busing perhaps.
But transit could be a
thing.
potential thing.
Okay.
Yep. We've got so I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about, we have that trail system along Spring Creek right now that has started, that it's like, it starts up kind of by the high school, comes down. That will continue and go, to 9th Street. And the idea of that trail system then that can lead us like an actual physical connector from one side to the other. I think that's
Right.
exciting. I also will say that everybody's seeing the construction on 3rd Street right now. We received a grant for the beautification of that area.
What's the timeline on the 3rd Street progression?
I wish
Let's
I had
call
that
it
with me.
progress.
It is going to be. I don't want to tell you that. I feel like I'm going to mess things up.
Under promise and over deliver,
Yeah.
right?
So
Yeah.
I know that they are going. If it goes longer than July, they are going to take a break for Jubilee days. So that opens up. Sorry, hit that.
The possibility exists, everyone, that this could go past.
It could go
Jubilee days.
past. But it should be. I don't want to. I'm going to email you that information. You can share it because I don't want to put the wrong thing out.
Get it back. Or make the announcement during the public comment time or
Then I have it.
announcements.
They've
You guys have
shared it.
announcement
Yep.
times on
So
city
we can
council
share it
meetings.
at the end.
Give it for everybody as a whole because the talk shop reaches some, but not all.
Yep.
And together we can get out the information
Yep.
better for everyone's best interest.
I'll put it on my social media too. 'Cause
You,
that's what's going on right now.
You had the investment of time in the 2025 legislature. What interest did City Council have via your attendance or perspective might you have had? Was it personal? Was it as a representative of City Council? Are you
No.
always a representative of this or that? What role were you vested in?
Sure.
In, if you don't mind disclosing
No,
that
no,
from
happy
a
to.
standpoint.
My day job is working with the Wyoming Women's Foundation, which is under the Wyoming Community Foundation.
Very good.
And so we track legislation that impacts women and girls. And then more broadly, the Community Foundation, if there's something that's impactful on a wide range of things. We're more, my role is more centered on the women and girls side of things. So we were following, from the Women's Foundation perspective, a number of items.
Right.
One of the ones which a lot of us have been following was the property tax initiatives.
Has it led to funding or not funding? Or,
Well,
or what?
the Community Foundation and the Women's Foundation are a private entity. We are not government funded. But when we look at the impacts to nonprofit communities,
What's a community going to need?
Yeah, what's a community going to need? And when we were looking at those property tax bills specifically, when we think about those things that are important to, because like I said, it's women and girls for us. So separating myself from council right now, it is like your senior centers. It's community colleges.
Great.
It is education. We know that education must be funded constitutionally, but our community colleges, I believe, receive like 27% of their funding for property taxes. Senior centers, I don't know that one offhand. And so thinking about what will those impacts be on those services that are really important to women and girls. So we followed that. We followed some of the education bills. We followed a couple of the voting bills that would impact our senior women more. We followed childcare bills a lot. So it's a wide range of
Fantastic.
items.
I appreciate knowing that. I've witnessed you in attendance with City Manager Janine Jordan at a Casper occasion and an Evanston occasion regarding housing specifically, and I didn't know if there was a crossover to the legislative actions.
No.
There was effort to reduce regulatory bureaucratic systems, some in 2024, and I didn't know if that was a carryover type of interest that might exist with housing or what have you.
If I take off my Women's Foundation
Cheers.
name
Back
badge,
on.
and
Here comes City Council Rebels.
and when I'm at those meetings, and I share that I am here in my capacity either as an individual or as a council member, and the same thing I encourage, just like we encourage you to come to City Council meetings. If you can manage the time to get on Zoom at those legislative meetings and share input, that's a great place to do it too. But if I'm already over at the state listening to all the legislative stuff, I will sometimes comment on something. And I will, for example, actually one bill that came up that I just, as my own capacity as a human, not as a city council person, not as my role as
How many hats do you wear?
Just like everybody.
Right. Human beings, right?
Yeah. So just speaking on my thoughts of, there was a bill that was making running for the school board a
partisan or non-partisan, right?
And I spoke up on that because I thought, you know what, these are.
Okay.
One of the things I love about
let the talk shop distinguish your opinion as well. What's your opinion?
My thought is, one of the reasons I love serving on city council is because it isn't partisan. You all come together, and you may not agree, but you're going to work through it, and you don't worry about that other stuff. You don't care if there's an R or a D or whatever it is.
Shouldn't that be the way it is in all cases?
I mean, I would like to think so, but right now it's feeling, and I worry that some people aren't going to run. I've spoke often, and I'll continue to do so. I'm for a jungle election. Yeah.
Everybody all in, regardless of party. One winner takes all. I don't see 2 million going for this election and 2 million going for this election as good spending of our money. We need leaders. And doesn't matter which leader, they're going to make great decisions, and they're going to make
not great decisions.
Great decisions that could be improved even greater.
Yeah.
And it's important to realize we are human. We are not perfect.
Well, and you can have a person who believes strongly this way fiscally and this way socially, and this, I just feel like, and when you're talking about city issues and school board issues, a lot of times, as you know, it's funding for a fire truck. It's adjusting the funding for this water line thing. Those are just community issues, right? So that's just an example of what you can do as an individual.
We've given some credit to the information technology folks that are behind the scenes running city council streaming operations and recording for public record the entirety of meetings. One section that's not covered is with respect to litigation, and you go into executive session. Council has done through the last two sessions gone into executive session with respect to public not available for this, it's not open, and without disclosing what the topic is or without that, what distinguishes something from executive session and open public sessions as generally spoken? HR issues, litigation, stuff like that, but maybe there's a more official thing that you'd like to comment on.
I mean, perhaps there is a more official thing, but I would characterize it as you did. Okay. HR, litigation, those are the
more private matters to the advantage of the city as a whole, not to have public disclosure at this time.
Right, or if legally we cannot talk it out.
What's the timeline, perhaps? Maybe you can disclose the timeline on the last 2 weeks have been, council has entered private executive sessions. Is there an anticipated time where the public will be made aware of what's being discussed behind closed doors?
I think that sometimes those won't be shared depending on what the topic is. I
Might
believe
never
you can
be.
do,
Okay.
yeah, and I believe you could, so they're all recorded in some way, and then those are recorded, filed away,
Right.
and I
So
would
if
assume
public,
that you could. I don't know
if I were going to be
if I were
going to be completely journalistic
Mm-hmm.
and astute and proficient in my research strategies,
Mm-hmm.
canvassing and scrubbing the dockets of local, state, federal dockets would be one manner by which, if you're interested in what litigation is going on, perhaps you might do that as a member of the public. Information is generally available if you dig deep enough and do so that. Now, that's not to circumvent city council nor undermine the trust that I have in your group, but as a whole, if I were to be doing my job as a media individual and covering the topic, and I was to be the best in my field, perhaps I might do that. But I generally try to believe the best in what's going on, and I try to trust that everything's going as it should be and diligently, and nothing's improper. And I have no reason to believe otherwise at this time with respect to this litigation stuff that's been on the agenda that's taken the city of Laramie into that realm. But I love that we've talked about 2023, 2024, key highlights from your perspective. I love that you've come to the talk shop. I dearly appreciate the goals that you've represented, that 2025 council has, you specifically have, with respect to your vision on this year and what's going on. Just before we close, you brought so much preparation. What did you bring that we probably don't have enough time today, but it would be a welcome opportunity going forward should you choose to return in a more frequent fashion than 2 years ago?
I got a list of things.
What highlights should we have asked but we didn't cover?
Oh no, well, so I've just you had noted what things have we done, what things are we doing, kind of moving forward. So I just sat down and thought about the things we are doing with looking at some of the trail systems, with parking, with just. I just have a laundry list of items.
Well, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this. Thank you for showing up, Micah. Thank you for your decision to serve the public. Thank you for your determination in being diligent and conscientious through your actions on behalf of the city. Ward 1, but not just Ward 1. As Vice Mayor, you're truly, and frankly, all 9 make decisions for all of us. Ward 1, 2, 3. Irrespective, you also represent Albany County in many regards, as services of the city are daily enjoyed or frustrating citizens and guests, visitors to our community. So in every endeavor, thank you for that. But thank you for showing up on the Talk Shop. This is the type of open dialogue that I treasure with respect to Albany County, and that I hope continues to grow and develop for our city of Laramie and Wyoming as a whole. The opportunity to visit with you, ask you questions, I think for people to see and hear how comfortable you are with respect to these things, how conscientious you take each matter, each subject, as open as you are to suggestion or reframe some things that might be misconstrued. It's all great development in that transparency effort. So I appreciate you joining the Talk Shop, and thank you. Your final comment as we close this segment of the Talk Shop.
I guess just a couple of things. I keep thinking, and I'm going to go back to what you had talked about with the litigation piece. Just knowing that you will know how litigation ends when something comes out in the news about
when
how
you need to
litigation
know,
ends,
you'll know.
right? Like it
There
will
you
come
go.
out.
Yeah.
But I just want to really encourage just people to reach out. Share questions about processes, or share concerns that you have about community, something that's going on, why something's happening. I know it's not always easy, handy, but my email is mrichardson@cityoflaramie.org.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And like I said, that's a great way to
It's
reach
usually
me.
your first name, last initial, or is
I
it
think
different?
it's first initial, last name.
There you go. Okay, there you go.
And I really hope I didn't. Yes, I know it is M. Richardson at City of Laramie.
So how many emails do you have, Micah?
I have a number of emails.
Right. But if you forget,
If you get a bounce back.
council@cityoflaramie.org.
Yes.
You're up to, is it
Yep.
GOV or org?
GOV. Sorry, my work one is ORG. It's
Yeah,
GOV.
so if you wish to send electronic correspondence, City of Council will receive those via the clerk at council. It's council@cityoflaramie.org.
Thank you. It is ORG.
And,
See, I can't even keep it
and in
straight.
that, we close this edition of the Talk Shop, brought to you by Chano's Village. Those fine folks at the Benton Rusty. We appreciate those folks at 308 South 2nd Street, and we appreciate you listening to the Talk Shop here on 93.5 FM.
All right. Thank you. What time is it?